Hey, welcome to Happy in 15 again. Today's topic is a clickbait. Don't make this mistake with your new ServiceNow platform. First, to understand what are we talking about, let's hear from the ex-Senior Vice President of Customer Success from ServiceNow, Jimmy Fitzgerald.
I was fortunate enough to spend a lot of time with, over the 10 years, I would say hundreds and hundreds of executives across our customers globally. And as you start to engage with these executives, the patterns of what they're asking you for are very, very similar. So I really bring it down to three really important needs they have of ServiceNow. The first is they want to ensure that the platform that they've invested in, the ServiceNow platform, is governed and well structured and well architected. So they don't want to over configure, over customize. They want to make sure it remains an asset on their balance sheet. That's number one. Number two is they want to make sure that they're delivering great experiences to their end users, and clearly that's where HappySignals comes in. And number three is as we work with them from initiative to initiative, it's really important that we always deliver on an ROI. Every program, every project has to deliver the outcome that we signed up for together.
Yeah, I think that was pretty well summed up by Jimmy. So I think, not customizing the environment, so not trying to build everything yourself. Yeah. Then focusing really on the experience, because I think that's also one of the slogans to make great experiences. Yeah. And then, of course, what you need to do for your CFO and everybody who's governing the IT budget to show the value. So what is the return on investment that we got from the Now platform? And that's why we brought this topic up today, that if you are now having, even I know one customer said that now we are replacing ServiceNow with ServiceNow, because they had this very customized ServiceNow environment, and now they are taking this out-of-the-box version of ServiceNow. Yeah. And really focusing on what are we doing, what is the outcome of the environment. And to kind of help us go on this conversation, you could kind of ask that, so you enabled something, you enabled ServiceNow, so what experience did you create? If this would be a business stakeholder, Sami, coming to ask, so what did you create with ServiceNow? What would you be able to answer?
We can go deeper to kind of our to that one, but yeah. I think quite many organizations would be answering that we created a chat channel and we have created a self-service portal and now we are serving people better, but kind of that is not maybe enough. It's just created a channel and added a channel and you added new technology to be used, but did you really create an experience? And I think this is an area where we have been talking a lot with customers and ServiceNow implementation partners as well, that what really creates the great experiences. So yes, you create experiences, but do you create great experiences that you can really celebrate? Then it's about leveraging ServiceNow platform on its max or leveraging the ready-made functionality that you have there. Yeah. But it's just that you implement some portal or chat. Yeah, kind of you can say that we created something, but
yeah, and it's kind of I really love the Now platform, what you can do with it, and the advertisements that they have, these confetti celebration advertisements. But there's something there. It's like we celebrate every time we close a ticket. Well, did you just close the ticket, or did you create a great experience? As we know from our results, one of the key factors of people complaining is that my ticket was not solved, even though it was closed. So really understanding what was the end user's experience that it was. How do you know that you are really doing a good job? So unless you understand what the experience are, if you're not measuring it, it's very difficult to start celebrating. Yeah. And we were even talking with the ServiceNow person that we should have that confetti machine. And whenever, from HappySignals you get a really good score, then it actually should be popping up that confetti up. And I think something we should do with ServiceNow. Yeah.
I think in overall, when it comes to ServiceNow development and ServiceNow developing the product, there is a lot to do with the product development. Or the customers are not configuring anymore too much, but a lot of demand, and the platform itself is so wide. So what we really see as a benefit of our product, helping ServiceNow partners and ServiceNow customers, is to have right focus, because there is so much what you do. So really focus on, are we creating that great experience?
Yep.
And leveraging the platform, all of its functionalities. Sometimes there is so much to do that you just focus on running that.
Yeah, just upgrading versions and just enabling features, but not really spending the time or having that visibility into the experience data that would give you the focus. Okay, let's now fix this thing, then fix that thing, and in that way show the value to the business. And if they are asking what experiences did you create, show that, hey, we just saved from the end user's perspective 15 minutes every time they log a ticket. Yeah. That's worth celebrating, I would say. Yeah.
And it's.
But what does it, Sami, practically mean? So of course we have steps to happiness. It is our circle, our wheel: measure, share, identify, improve. So how would you use this if you are now working with the new Now platform, or why should you start this from the very beginning when you start your Now platform?
I was just saying that let's take a step back and think about, like, we have been discussing quite often that what is the right time to start measurement, and it's always the answer is now.
Yeah.
And quite a good term in the ServiceNow environment. But that now means that the earlier the better, because there will be changes going on in your ServiceNow ecosystem, in the partners. You are releasing something. If you don't know what was this change making as a value, so if you don't start to measure that before the project, then you are not able to think about, okay, did we perform well? Did we create better experiences? So in that way, I said in some of the podcasts, I hate that question when you have a discussion with prospect or even customers to take a new area in use. And the reason is that we are still going to do this and this project before starting to measure. And that's like, please.
Yeah, and we are so busy now just installing the platform that we don't have time to measure what we are creating with the platform. It just doesn't make sense if you say it like that.
Kind of.
and
also kind of one thing what really is valuable, if you start now to think about this wheel from the measurement area. So measure part first. So before a renewal of your portal or taking some new areas in use, measuring the baseline and giving that data to the people who are doing that development project. So maybe, let's say, understanding what are the services that are not, where you are not so good in supporting the end users. That should be your focus on the development of the portal and understanding what is going on in those, so that you are not just implementing that portal, a new version of it, you are maybe making it looking better, but focus on the real, what really is the process behind things.
And there's, I think, many of these metrics that you can then get when you combine that experience with the ServiceNow operational data. There's, for example, reassignment counts. So what you can do is that first measure how does the experience change every time a reassignment happens. Then show that data to everybody, get them brainstorming, identify, okay, for example, it's this SAP service. It's every time here this happens. Could we fine-tune the portal and the chatbot when there's a SAP mentioned, or that we direct it right to the SAP team? We skip the first line, SPOC level there. We go directly to the people who can solve it, have it solved, and then see, did you create an improvement with that? If you then create an improvement for the end users, then you actually made an impact. If you would just optimize the process for the IT workers, you were not, maybe you didn't make any impact for the business stakeholders.
So maybe adding a couple of points of that. So as you know, and many of the listeners know, that the portal is creating a list of the it is the most hated channel, as we say it, when it comes to IT incidents. And now, why is that? It is going to that reassignment counts. So what we have seen in the data is that there is more reassignments when ticket is coming through portal than there is if ticket is coming from email. And what you made the end user do in the portal is categorize the ticket and give all that information, and you're not using that. And now back to the Jimmy's point one, not to customize your service now. You don't have to customize the customer. There is functionalities to do this. So when you recognize those areas, take them directly to the expert group who has been the best in creating end users happy in that area.
Exactly.
And then you start to have a great engine that even in the end will learn from end user feedback and then
Yeah, and then we know like some customers have just used that when they have measured like these channels, like people are talking about closing down email. Yeah. How can you justify closing down the email? Well, if you have experience data that you have been able to create the chatbot or something else that is more productive for the end users, they are happier with that, then you can communicate back to the end users that, hey, based on your feedback, we have now closed down the email channel, and you can use this more effective channel of having chats and using the portal and so on. But if you just close down the email without any communication, then you will hear bad things in the corridors.
And I think the same thing goes even more interesting when we talk about chatbots.
Yeah.
And then when you start to kind of create a ticket in chat, you start that negotiation of and then maybe sometimes we are able even to resolve the ticket. But using ServiceNow, you can really take the ticket when you know that, okay, now it's about the SAP and finance, then you take to that team directly, even maybe thinking about what was the profile of end user. Yeah. So if he's technical, we can give him more instructions. Exactly. If not, just take him to talk with the agent. So the platform is there, or the functionality is there.
Exactly.
Just to kind of taking that in use and think about what really is the problem. And I think now in the portal and chats, the process is quite often the problem, and not meaning that your agents would be working wrong in the process. Yeah. But you are using ServiceNow. Yeah. You're paying for a great product and then using only one part of it quite often.
And maybe kind of like to still highlight like few points from, let's say, CIO's point of view. So for example, you can make the IT department kind of accountable for the experiences, because now you can measure them. It's not just that, hey, just spend your time, do whatever you want with the tool, but actually make them accountable of improving. So again, making happiness the metric that they try to then utilize. It's also very motivating for IT people to use new tech to make something valuable happen. And I believe many of the IT department guys want to do that.
And I think kind of the ServiceNow has been awarded as the most innovative company in the world. Yeah. And I think Chris Pope personally, but it is great to think about this experience data as a source of innovation. Yeah. Because innovation, you should be solving something.
Some problem,
Some problem. But if you don't know the problems, you are just implementing some technology. Yeah. So in that sense, now understanding where the end users are not so happy should be kind of giving you kind of great challenge that focus on this one and solve that with the tools or good design and then make your end users happy. Yeah.
And I think also from even from another perspective, let's say that the IT management team or the CIO needs to have a conversation with the CFO about the budget, the IT budget, about your spend. And I think a few years ago, the IT spend was one of the key drivers. I think today it more starts to be like, okay, what business value do I create? Mm-hmm. If you can then show that, hey, these are the things that we can create, how much money do you, how good experience do you want me to create? Give me that much money. So it more comes to this, like you said earlier sometimes, that you start to make decisions, budget decisions based on the experiences that are being created by IT.
And I think for that CFO discussion, it's more commercial for our product, but our customers have been able to increase the productivity of their end users when it comes to service management by 26%. And that, if I now remember right, that is 37 minutes per ticket. Yeah. And if you change that to money, you created a huge value for the business.
Yeah, and I think it's one of the themes of today is giving hours back to business. Yeah. But maybe that's a good place to stop today's episode of Happy in 15. Hope you enjoy it. And we also love to hear your feedback in the social media. Give comments. Give Sami a mail if you felt that.
Tell me why you are not doing and using ServiceNow in its max.
Yeah, and we hope you join us again next week for the next episode. And as we usually end it, so stay safe and stay happy.